Hey everyone, welcome back to another World of Warships Blitz video. Update 8.1 is coming tomorrow. We'll cross our fingers, say a prayer, light a candle, that we have a smooth update tomorrow. But anyways, the patch notes for 8.1 are here. A lot to go over. I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible. Single realm matchmaker. You guys can read this as well as I can. Kudos to whoever wrote Single Realm Matchmaking, bringing together players from around the globe to argue over who forgot the cap. Give that person a raise, whoever wrote that. Alright, so my understanding of how this is going to work is whatever server you play on, when you queue into a random battle, it's going to look for players from your server first. When matchmaking's a little slow, it's an off time for your server, that's when it's going to look out for the other servers and bring in other players to fill the teams up with players. So I don't think it's going to be a massive thing. All depends on how their servers work and just how they coded this matchmaker. Like I said, we're going to cross our fingers with this one. I think if you play 2 or 3 man teams going into randoms, I think that's when you'll see more players from other servers in your games, because matchmaker does try to prioritize team versus team battles, which can lead to more bots at times. I know a lot of people are concerned about lag. I know players from all 3 servers that play on tournaments or in tournaments on the other servers. Very, very rare do we hear another team cry foul about a player lagging. So if it can work for tournaments, it should be able to work for randoms where we don't see a lot of lag in the game. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly confident on this one that the lag's not going to be an issue. Hopefully. All right, so that's it with matchmaker. You're going to queue in, it's going to look for players from your server, and if it needs to, it's going to go out to the other servers to bring in players for full player matches. That's the understanding that I think is going to happen. Time will tell. I'll do a video on it next week when we got some time to see how it works and any potential fixes I can think of. Another Supership season coming up. Superships to me, I'm not that excited about. I mean, there's only really 1 battleship or 2 battleships to play, and I'm not really thrilled with either one of them. They're okay. I'd rather just dump the ship XP and silver in to convert that stuff to free XP at the end of the season. Personally, I'd like to see an update without a super ship season. Let's not overkill the super ships. They're saying we brought a leash for Edgar, so apparently there's a nerf coming for Edgar. We'll take a peek at that here soon. Yeah, I could definitely use a break from super ships. Pan American battleships are coming. I know everybody's thinking, oh no, Tech Tree Atlanticos. Yeah, basically that's the concept, but the important key, the very key part of that phrase is Tech Tree. If they come out overtuned, they can get nerfed much easier than a premium can. So we'll just have to see how they drop, and we'll go from there. And I think this is a very cool addition to the game. You can switch torpedo types in mid-battle. You can launch out faster, stealthier, less damage torpedoes with more range, or you could switch it up to higher damage, closer range torps. That's a pretty cool thing to me. I'm really curious to see how this one works. Unfortunately, it looks like it's coming out on a premium ship first, so not everybody's going to get a chance to mess around with that. Legendary mods. Goliath. Goliath looks pretty good depending on the equipment slot. 8% more main battery firing range, 5% less reload. Or I should say a 5% reduction in reload time at the cost of 8% more surface detection. I don't have Goliath yet. That's one of the things I was going to use my free XP from this last Super Ship event for, was to try to get up that line. All depending on when the Pan American battleships drop anyways. So I'm curious to see how this one works. I'll talk to my cruiser players if they're interested in it, and I'll give you an update at some point in a community post or something of what people think about it. Marseille. Now, my guess is since it's main gun focused, we're going to have it in slot 1. I'm not sure how I feel about that, if that's the case. Maximum and minimum main battery shell dispersions are getting tightened up 15%, which is a good thing. Still isn't going to fix Marseille's key issue of just a little. It needs a shorter reload time, and it needs a little more AP pen power. This is a big help, though. Again, all depending on what slot it comes out in, but like I said, because it's main gun focused, I got to guess slot 1. So you get 15% tighter dispersion on your minimum and your maximum at the cost of 20% less turret traverse speed and 7% main battery survivability. I mean, it's normally a bow in island hugger anyway, so it shouldn't be that much of a difference. I'm curious. I'll probably end up getting it and testing it out, and I'll get back to you what I think of it. The Louisiana leg mod, to me, the aircraft are a novelty to play around with. The main guns, to me, are where all the fun is. I don't know about it. Again, all depends on what slot it's in. If this comes out in like slot 1, I'd never even think about it because I want the main guns to have the extra range and the secondaries have extra range. All right. May's theme's going to be Celestial Fleet. We're going to get the Tier 8 British battleship Prince of Wales, which is a cool ship. Historically speaking, it's very cool. It was there when Hood got destroyed by the Bismarck. And then it went to the Pacific Theater. And it learned the power of air power. And Prince of Wales was the ship that basically said battleships are done. The modern era will not see massive battleships continuing because of air power. Little foreshadowing there about the air power. June we'll get the Tier 7 cruiser Sydney, Commonwealth, Australian, nice. I like the Commonwealth cruisers so far from what I've seen of them. More collection books. The nice thing about that is like just two items collected in there. You can get 7 days of premium time from both of them. I like that. Premium time is always a nice thing. We don't have any pictures for these camouflages, but you guys can read them just as well as I can. Some more commanders. Epic and legendary commanders. I'm assuming Leonard Murray's going to be a Commonwealth commander. Maybe, hopefully. Be nice to see one. Titles from, I don't really care about that. Login rewards for May and June. We don't get any premium ships. We'll get exclusive titles. Oh, we do get an epic commander in May. That's nice. All right, premium ships. Sydney, I think it just says right there, June Blitz Pass ship. Modernized version of Perth. I like Perth. It's a good ship. All right. The Prince of Wales. King George V class battleship, which is Tier 7. We're moving it up to Tier 8. Could be a problem. Could just get absolutely hammered by Indomitables. Who knows? But it's interesting in the fact that it has a heavy repair team and crawling smoke. That should be really cool. I'm really looking forward to that Blitz Pass ship next month. Otago, Japanese Tier 8 cruiser, sister ship to Takao with better main guns apparently, but adjusted torp angle. So that should be a pretty cool ship. Minagumo, the Tier 9 Japanese destroyer is going to have those alternative torpedo mechanics. Svea, European Tier 10 cruiser. I think Red said it's a Ragnar that went to McDonald's a little too much, got a little chunky, and became a cruiser. Commissar. Soviet hybrid cruiser. I'll be curious. I mean, I'll be curious to see what it is. And then we got the Black Nebraska, which no one's going to care about. All right, guys. Got the comparison window back. So we can compare our ships easier. Great. I'm glad they fixed that. When a ship features deep water torpedoes, you'll now see a new deep water torpedo icon when entering the battle. Maybe that'll help some of the players that don't understand deep water torpedoes, and maybe they'll know that they cannot torpedo another destroyer. Ship tree UI update. Ship XP is going to be displayed in silver gray. Free XP appears in gold right beneath each researchable ship. And ships that are ready to be researched will now show new visual effects to draw your attention. I'm curious to see what's there. Alright, ship balancing. And this starts it right here. Adjusted ship specialty, additional damage control kit. If your ship has 4 damage control kits per battle, you get minus 25% fire and flooding duration. So that ships with a specialty, Ismail, Black Ismail. So it's the Soviet battleships and the Pan-Asian Tier 9 cruiser, the Tianjin. So if you've got rolling into battle with these ships with your 4 damage controls, your fire and flooding durations will be 25% shorter. Hopefully that comes out as intended and isn't bugged to where it adds another 25% to your fire and flooding duration. We'll see what happens there. That's a pretty welcome addition to those ships, I think. Remove secondary guns from a couple tier 2 cruisers. No one cares. The Gdansk. Now, my theory is Wargaming is looking at global stats on ships to see what, just win. I think they're probably just win rates. I'm not sure about average damage, but I'm assuming win rates. And we know how Gdansk works. There's really good Gdansk players. There's slightly better than average. And then there's some... Probably people like me, if I had the ship, I would be below average player with the ship. A massive concealment buff at the expense of 1,000 hit points. Just means Gdansk in the right hands is going to be much more powerful. Like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's a big buff for Gdansk. The hit points, 1,000 hit points really doesn't matter that much. That concealment is ridiculous. German destroyers. Z-23, 46, and 52 all get more hit points and a little more armor. So they should be a little bit better, a little more sustainable in the gunboat DD trades. This one here, the American aircraft carriers. Hit point buffs for dive bombers, torpedo bombers, and we're getting accuracy on the tier 7 through 9 dive bombers. This is tragic. Absolutely tragic. I know some of you guys might like CVs. Nothing personal, guys. When I play ships that supposedly have good AA with my battleships, I'm playing American battleships. When I'm playing those ships, I already struggle to knock midway planes out of the sky. I struggle knocking American aircraft out of the sky as is. This is just going to make things worse for us surface ship players. And, especially if you're a CV main that knows how to stack his planes right. Well, enjoy the buff, because I'm not. Massive buff here. Brindisi, Venecia, and Superior. Look at the reload times. Drop by 2 seconds, and main battery accuracy gets better by 5%. That is tremendous. This is much needed for these ships. I can't wait now to try these out. British light cruisers. My only issue a little bit is Minotaur. Getting a little bit better concealment and now a little more torpedo speed. But I know Fiji and Edinburgh, that's a nice quality of life for those ships, I think. Again, I think Wargaming, I can't confirm this. This is just my guess that Wargaming looks at win rates on these ships globally. And, I mean, we've all seen it. Good Minotaur players will just absolutely eat you for breakfast. But players that are still struggling to learn the ship think it's a big destroyer. They'll, like, sit broadside in smoke. Guys, for those of you who don't know, smoke is not a wall. We know where you're at for the most part, and we'll wreck you. I've deleted many a Minotaur that popped up in smoke and just sat still broadside to me. So I could see the global win rate maybe being a problem, necessitating Wargaming to think this ship needs a buff. But Minotaur is definitely a god tier cruiser now in a lot of people's hands. Another cool buff. Now, I'm not sure about for Petro. I don't know if Petro needs 3 rapid reload ones now. But Talon and Riga getting rapid reloads, very cool. Spanish cruisers. Guys, I don't know a lot about the Spanish cruisers besides the fact that people were wanting a AP buff on these things. A drop in concealment, going to be nice. Main battery firing range, nice. The burst time, reload time coming down a little bit, and the interval between the individual shots dropping. That's very nice buffs. I'm not sure that's what everybody was asking for. We'll see what happens. I got to talk to my cruiser mains about that. The Dutch cruisers, I really don't see that being a massive buff to those ships. That's just me. Very, minimal main battery firing range when the problem is they're kind of helpless against destroyers. Premium ships getting buffs. San Francisco getting a concealment buff. Okay, I'll take it. I like San Francisco. Z35, ZF6 getting buffs. More in line with the tech tree German destroyers. Z44. Oh, the Blucher. The Blucher is getting buffed. Oh my god. For those of you who don't know, Blucher is a monster of a tier 8 cruiser. Getting its main battery reload time knocked down by 1.5 seconds and a concealment buff of basically half a kilometer. That's huge. Makes a meta ship even more meta now. Very cool buffs here. Tirpitz and Ignis gets buffs. Tirpitz definitely need a quality of life. It needed a quality of life enhancement. And the big ones for me, who cares about torpedoes? But that turret traverse speed, super nice. The extra armor, really nice. Enhanced main battery shell velocity should make that ship much more playable now. And, a fun one. For those of you who have Burgoyne, main battery shell dispersion gets narrowed up. Tighten up that shell dispersion on that burst firing battleship. Really nice. Alright. Superships. Edgar's getting a nerf. Burst fire time goes down. Concealment goes up. I don't think that's enough to nerf Edgar. And then Hanover. That's a minor buff on the secondaries, be honest with you. Bug fixes. Modified the rotation angle of Navarian's second and third turrets. Now they support 360 rotation. I don't have the ship, so I have no idea about that one. Tactical dive bombers now correctly count towards hit X times with dive bombers, which that's a good thing. Fix an issue with limited offers. Yeah, I haven't seen those bugs. The red dot notification bug. That's a big one that actually absolutely triggers me, seeing the red dots that I can't get rid of. All right. And then to finish this one up, guys, 8.2. They're working on that already. This is super important, guys. Don't go on Discord, Facebook, wherever, and just complain about the matchmaker. Say what's wrong with it, and add an idea, add feedback to it. Why, if hey, it's still taking too long. can you guys fix the queue times a little bit? Or it's just not fair matchmaking, just whatever the gripe is, say the gripe, give a possible fix, give good quality feedback. That's what I'm going to be doing, is trying to give good quality feedback. The long-awaited debut of fast game mode, I have no idea about that. I really don't care. A new torpedo type for French destroyers. I got to look at PC, see what the French destroyers have in the way of torpedoes. 8.2 is going to give us a better visual enhancements. So we'll see how that one looks. Anything that improves the in-game look of the game, I'm all for. Ongoing work to improve the weapon switch system. This one I think is going to be good if we can fix it right. I'm really curious to see how they're doing it, but I know when I play a ship that has main gun, secondaries, and torpedoes, it feels like I'm switching forever trying to find the right thing sometimes. And if I'm super focused on a brawl, sometimes I'll skip too fast and I'll screw up a secondary salvo or something like that timing. So hopefully that's what that's going to fix. And last but not least, they're still working on the bots. Now, guys, I know they added a few more developers to our game team, and God only knows where in the center of this massive, hideous game code our bot behavior is hiding at. Be patient with this. I'm totally fine with this taking time because I want it fixed right. I don't want them to slap a quick fix on it that potentially is going to screw more stuff up in this game. We don't want that. So with that, guys, I'm going to call it here. Interesting update. Cross our fingers. Go to church. Light a candle. Say a prayer. This is an important one for them to get right. Guys, when I said earlier in the year, I'm not quite ready to quit the game, but I need to see what the next updates look like, to see how the course is being charted. There's a lot I like going on right now. Like I said, we can talk about prices being expensive, but there's a lot of bundles that are, I think, relatively well priced, and they're great gold deals if you have the ships. That turns small end if you've been careful with your bundles and you did some small purchasing. That turns small end into like less than $50 for a ship if you were interested in it. So I'm thrilled with that. The other thing I'm thrilled with is how we have direct purchase options for our new premium ships. Be it guaranteed crates, direct purchase bundle, or a straight up gold deal. I'm really, really happy with that. So there's a lot I'm happy about with the direction of the game. There's some other stuff that I'm curious to see. Like, I know they're working on a new website. I'm very curious to see what that looks like. Obviously, I'm dying to see, we're getting more super testers in, and some of them I know are excellent players that understand how things work in this game. So, give them time to get used to to their system on how they can report buffs and nerfs to ships. Like I said, there's a lot going on that I think is going to be healthy for the game. We just got to get through this update to do it.